The night is dark and full of horrors. Let me now whisper this story softly to you. She walked into the lift that night with two friends, but she never came out. There were no screams, no exit, no answers. For 13 years, Felicia Teo was just missing. Welcome to Asian Crime Stories with your Papa Midnight. So, what exactly happened to her? Let us now go back to that fateful day. This is the story of Felicia Teo, 13 years missing, until one small clue finally solved the case. June 29th, 2007, Singapore was warm and quiet. 19-year-old Felicia Teo left home for a party. It was nothing unusual for the young and bubbly Felicia. She was supposed to meet two friends later that night at a 10th floor flat in Marine Terrace. CCTV caught her entering the lift with her two friends, Ahmad and Rajiv, at around 1 a.m. That was the last time she was seen on camera. Her friends claimed she stormed off around 2:30 a.m. and said she wanted to meet someone else. She had a cream color bag, her Apple MacBook, and camera. While CCTV caught her going to a friend's place, no CCTV ever caught her leaving the building. Her phone went silent and her messages disappeared. At 2:37 a.m., a cryptic text was sent from her phone. What was sent and who it was sent to, nobody knows. I tried to search through different articles and court documents, but there is no public record of this message. All we know is that a message was sent at 2:37 a.m. to a male friend who is unnamed in public records. By July 3rd, Felicia's mother filed a missing persons report. Once news of Felicia's disappearance became public, hundreds of volunteers fanned out along East Coast Park, Marine Parade, and even Johor Bahru. Flyers, blog pages, public appeals, all hoping for a glimpse, a tip, anything. The police investigated, reviewed CCTV images and videos, and questioned acquaintances, but they found no smoking gun. The two men who last saw her were considered persons of interest, but no direct evidence linked them. Years passed. The case went cold. But Felicia's family refused to accept that she had just ran away. Felicia was full of life and hope. She had plans. She had connections. She had a whole life ahead of her. Before any evidence came to light, all investigators and the public were theories. When a young woman disappears without a trace, when there is no body, no witnesses, no CCTV, this is very mysterious. We have three theories. Felicia chose to disappear. In the early days, some believed Felicia may have run away voluntarily. Perhaps she was under stress. Perhaps she simply wanted to leave her life behind and start over. But this theory struggles under scrutiny. Felicia had made plans with friends. She was close with her family. She had dreams for the future. And she left everything behind. There was no history of mental health concerns, no goodbye messages, no withdrawal of money. That really doesn't make any sense. She was taken by a stranger. The second theory was stranger abduction. Felicia was last seen at Marine Terrace, a residential HDB block. Her two friends claimed she left the flat at around 2:30 a.m. to meet someone else. But no CCTV captured her exiting the lift. No eyewitnesses ever saw her walk out of the block. Some speculated she may have taken the stairs or left through a blind spot and was intercepted there. But there were no signs of struggle, no unusual noises, no blood, no calls for help. Singapore streets are densely monitored, even in 2007. For a total stranger to abduct someone cleanly and without a trace from a public building would require precision. And there was no evidence anyone else was there that night. The theory raised fear, but never really held any ground. This theory was the most viable as Felicia was last seen with Ahmad Daniel and Raji Putra. All three were connected through LaSalle College of the Arts. Felicia studied fine arts. Raju, an Indonesian student, studied video art. Ahmad, the oldest of the three, was already working in design and would later join Razer as a creative manager. Raju had introduced Felicia to Ahmad. They moved in the same creative circles. They shared spaces, ideas, and eventually were in one apartment. On June 29, 2007, Felicia visited Raju's flat at Marine Terrace. CCTV showed her entering the lift with both men at 1 a.m. That was the last time she was seen alive. According to their statements, she left at 2:30 a.m. after an argument. Ahmad told the police that Felicia had stormed out of the flat with her laptop and bag after he told her to silence her phone, which was ringing loudly while she texted. He also insulted her for having multiple boyfriends. For 13 years, the two men repeated the same version of events. Ahmad stayed in Singapore to build a career. Raju returned to Indonesia. This theory is most likely. For 13 years, Felicia Teo's disappearance remained a locked door. Then, a simple laptop turned the lock. In 2020, the Singapore Police CID, or Criminal Investigations Division, reopened Felicia's case for a cold case review. They returned to the only thread that hadn't been pulled, her missing belongings. One in particular stood out: her Apple MacBook. CID traced its serial number. They searched service logs, ownership databases, the kind of checks only possible in a fresh review. And they found it. The laptop was not missing. It was with Ahmad's father. Remember, Ahmad had told the police in 2007 that Felicia left the flat with all her items: her bag, her laptop, her camera. What seemed to have happened is Ahmad took her MacBook and later gave it to his father. These were items Felicia would have never parted with. So, how did the police find it? Court documents confirm this. CID screened the laptop in 2020, and even though it was not physically in their hands, they were able to detect that the laptop was tagged to another owner and was in use. But the laptop should have been with Felicia, and it wasn't. It was with the man who claimed that Felicia had left with her laptop. On December 15th, 2020, Ahmad was arrested. The case was reclassified as homicide. And after 13 years, the facts started to emerge. Ahmad admitted it. Felicia Teo died in that Marine Terrace flat. Not from violence, he insisted, but from drugs. That night, the three of them, Felicia, Ahmad, and Raju, had taken MDMA together. At some point during the night, Felicia became unresponsive and died. The two men panicked, not because they killed her, but because they feared Singapore's strict drug laws. They knew what possession alone could mean, a prison sentence, or worse. And so they make the choice. Hiding Felicia's body between two mattresses, they cleaned the flat. They then planted her phone at a nearby park, hoping police would find it and think she had gone somewhere else. Afterwards, they brought tools to dispose her body, returned home, and placed her in a box, sealing it tightly using tape. Using the staircase to avoid security cameras, they carried the box out of the flat from the 10th floor. They took a cab to a remote location in Singapore. Then they dug a hole, placed the box inside, doused it with kerosene, and set it on fire. When the flames burnt out, they covered the hole. In June 2010, 3 years after Felicia's disappearance, a skull fragment was actually found near Punggol Track 24 during an unrelated excavation work. At the time, the skull's origin was unknown. There was no match. It was kept in evidence, unclaimed. Then, in 2020, after Ahmad's confession, they tested the fragment and then the match came back. It was Felicia Teo. No other remains were found, just that one fragment, a whisper from the past. Felicia's case has ended, on paper. But for those who knew her, loved her, or even just followed her story, closure is still far away. All her mother, Teo Lian Huat, ever wanted was to know what happened to her daughter. And when the truth came, it came not with peace, but pain. Ahmad was charged, not with murder, but with the unlawful disposal of a corpse, giving false evidence, and misappropriating Felicia's belongings. To be clear, he was given a discharge not amounting to an acquittal for the murder charge. This means that the murder charge was temporarily withdrawn because the key co-accused, Raju Putra, was still at large. But Ahmad could technically be charged with murder again if new evidence emerges. Ahmad Daniel Muhammad Rafafi was sentenced to 26 months in jail on October 14th, 2022. He is now free. 26 months for 13 years of silence. For a mother's unanswered prayers, for her girl who never got to finish her life. And what of the other man, Raju Putra Setia Supaharajana? He fled to Indonesia and remains there. Singapore has no extradition treaty, which means to this day, he walks free. We still don't know exactly how Felicia died. Ahmad says it was the drugs, but there was no autopsy as there were no full remains. Just a skull fragment, scorched and buried, found years too late. Felicia Teo is not just a name on a case file. A girl full of art, full of love, full of promise. Her life was not meant to end in ash, in silence, or in secrecy. Justice came too late, and not all the way. So what do you think happened that day? Do share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes the truth sits in a blind spot until someone finally shines a light on it. Maybe you'll find Rajil and be that person who finally closes the case. This is Papa Midnight. Good night, wherever you are.